A poor woman's last coin saves a boy's life. Years later, he returns to save hers. A promise kept. In the golden light of an African dawn, the village of Ngoma slowly awoke. The sun rose behind the tall baobab trees, casting long shadows over the cracked red earth. Chickens clucked in the distance. Smoke curled from mud-brick huts. The scent of wood fire mingled with the early morning dew. And in one of the smallest, oldest huts, lived Mama Jalea. She was no longer young. Her bones creaked with every step, and her eyes had seen too much sorrow. Her husband, Omari, had died many years ago from a snake bite while farming in the fields. Her only child, a son, had died in infancy during a bad season when the crops failed and medicine never came. Left alone, she became Mama Jalea to the village, respected but forgotten. Each morning, she would sit outside her hut on a woven mat, her bare feet tucked under her faded chitinge cloth. With weathered fingers, she wove baskets from dried sisal leaves, tight, intricate patterns learned from her mother's mother. But buyers were few, and coins were fewer. Yet she never begged, never complained. She lived quietly, eating boiled cassava, drinking from the village well, and praying at dawn and dusk. Children would sometimes pass her by, whispering, "She talks to herself. She's a witch. Why does she always smile when she's so poor?" But Mama Jalea only smiled more. Because despite her poverty, she had something many didn't: peace. Until one day, that peace was tested. That afternoon, the sun burned hotter than usual. Even the birds had stopped singing. The dust on the road shimmered like fire, and the village market had begun to pack up early. Traders covered their goods, children were called indoors, and the air grew heavy, not with rain but with hunger. Mama Jalea sat beneath a mango tree near the market square, her basket of hand-woven goods untouched. Hours had passed. No buyers. Her stomach rumbled quietly. She hadn't eaten since the day before. But she remained still, calm, almost stubborn in her patience. Just as she began to gather her unsold baskets, a soft, trembling voice broke the silence. "Mama, please." She looked up. There, standing a few feet away, was a thin boy, no older than 10. His shirt was torn, his ribs visible, and his eyes, they were hollow yet pleading. He had no shoes. Dust clung to his feet like a second skin. His lips were dry, and a faint bruise colored his forehead. "I haven't eaten in 2 days," he whispered. "I tried to find food in the trash, but even the dogs beat me to it." Mama Jalea's heart twisted. She had seen hungry children before. But something about this boy, the desperation in his voice, the way he didn't even stretch out his hand to beg, struck her soul. She reached into the fold of her wrapper. There, tied tightly in a cloth, was a single coin. 1 coin. Her last. Enough for a cup of porridge, her dinner and breakfast combined. Her lifeline for the next 24 hours. She looked at the boy. He was trying not to cry. She looked at the coin. Then, without hesitation, she untied the cloth and placed the coin gently in the boy's hand. "Go," she said softly. "Buy yourself something warm. Slowly. And remember, there is still kindness in this world." The boy stared at the coin as if it were gold. His lips trembled. "Why would you give this to me?" he asked. She smiled. "Because once, someone gave me a meal when I needed it most. And I never forgot." He nodded, speechless, tears streaming down his dust-covered cheeks. Then he did something unexpected. He hugged her. "I won't forget this, Mama," he whispered, his voice cracking. "One day, I'll return this gift." And before she could reply, he turned and ran toward the market stalls. She watched him disappear into the crowd, a trail of dust behind him, and in her heart an unexpected warmth. She had nothing but gave everything. That night, Mama Jalea went to bed hungry. But she slept with a smile. 3 years passed, then 5, then 10. Mama Jalea grew older, slower. Her eyes faded, her hands stiffened. But every evening, as the sun dipped below the baobab trees, she would sit outside her hut and whisper, "I wonder where that boy is now." She never knew his name, never saw him again, but she remembered his hug, his tears, and the way he promised to return. In another world, far beyond the dusty roads of Ngoma village, the boy's life had taken a different turn. His name was Ao. After Mama Jalea gave him the coin, Ao bought a small cup of porridge. His first real meal in 2 days. The warmth filled not just his belly, but his hope. That night, instead of sleeping in the alley, he walked to the edge of the city where a shelter sometimes took in orphans. They almost turned him away, until a nurse noticed the bruise on his head. "Who hurt you, child?" she asked. He didn't answer, but she saw something in his eyes. Strength, pain, and something else, a will to survive. The shelter let him in. He was quiet at first, always sitting in the back, always watching. But he helped clean the kitchen, shared his food, and never fought. The staff noticed. One day the same nurse gave him a book. He couldn't read it, so she began to teach him. Ao devoured every lesson. Letters, numbers, stories. He learned fast, faster than any other boy in the shelter. Within a year, he was reading newspapers. In 2 years, he was tutoring younger boys. By the time he was 16, a visiting volunteer, a doctor from the city, saw his potential. "You're smart," he said. "Ever thought about becoming a doctor someday?" Ao smiled faintly. "Doctors save people. I'd like that." Mama Jalea's one coin had opened the door to a new world. And though the path was long and painful and filled with trials, Ao never forgot. Each time he held a textbook, he remembered the warm porridge. Each time he passed an exam, he remembered her voice. Each time he was tempted to give up, he whispered, "She believed in me before I believed in myself." And in the quiet corners of his mind, her wrinkled smile remained, a light guiding him home. It was a strange season in Ngoma. The rain, which usually came as a blessing, now roared like a curse. Thunder crashed over the sky. The roads flooded. And the villagers, most of them grown too busy or bitter to help one another, closed their doors tightly. Mama Jalea's hut was no match for the storm. Its roof leaked from every corner. The mud walls had begun to soften and crack. Firewood had turned to mush. Her last sack of cassava was already moldy. And then one night, as the storm reached its peak, she slipped. She had gone out to fetch water from the community well, holding her lantern against the wind. Path was slick. Her old legs, weak from hunger, gave in. She fell hard. Pain shot through her hip. The lantern rolled away, extinguished in the mud. And Mama Jalea lay still. The rain poured down on her frail body. Her wrapper soaked. Her skin shivered. She tried to cry out, but her voice barely rose above the wind. No one heard. No one came. The village had forgotten her. Hours passed. And then, distant headlights. Not from a bicycle. Not from a donkey cart. But from something almost unreal in this part of the world. A car. Sleek black one. It rolled slowly into the village, guided by GPS and a quiet prayer. The driver leaned out the window, confused by the muddy path. "This can't be it," he muttered. "There's no hospital here." He stopped the car. And just as he did, his headlights caught something. A figure on the ground, barely moving. He jumped out, umbrella in hand, shoes sinking in the mud as he rushed to the woman. His heart dropped. "Mama," he whispered, kneeling beside her. "No, it can't be." He turned her gently. The face, though older, was unforgettable. That smile, that voice, that day at the market. "It's her." He pressed 2 fingers to her neck, a faint pulse. Live. He pulled off his jacket and wrapped it around her. His hands, now trained in healing, moved with calm urgency. "You kept your promise, Ao," he whispered to himself. "Now it's my turn." O didn't hesitate. He lifted Mama Jalea into his arms, the way a son would carry his mother. With urgency but tenderness, he rushed back to the car, whispering a prayer under his breath. His heart raced as he drove through the muddy roads, the storm still howling around them. His mind flashed back to those memories, the boy with the empty stomach, the tears, the promise. He couldn't leave her like this. He wouldn't. After what felt like an eternity, Ao reached the nearest hospital, where doctors rushed to tend to Mama Jalea. They placed her in an emergency room, where the faint pulse they detected slowly grew stronger. Ao sat by her side waiting for a miracle. The hours passed like days. The rain never stopped. But finally, the doctor stepped out of the room. "She's stable. For now." Ao's heart dropped. It wasn't over yet, but it was a start. As the storm continued outside, Ao sat there, his thoughts swimming. He remembered every detail from that day when she had given him the last of her food. He remembered the warmth in her voice, the kindness in her eyes. He owed her everything. He couldn't just save her. He had to repay her. When Mama Jalea woke, it wasn't to the quiet of her small village home, but to the bright lights of a sterile hospital room. The scent of medicine mixed with the familiar smell of rain on the earth. She blinked slowly, disoriented. She tried to move, but her body ached. Then she heard it. That voice. "Mama, you're awake." She turned toward the sound and gasped. Standing by her side was the same boy, now a man. His face was older, sharper, but those eyes, they were the same. "Ao," she whispered. He smiled. The tears in his eyes were hard to hide. "It's me, Mama." He took her hand gently. "You saved me all those years ago. And now it's my turn." She could barely believe it. It felt like a dream, the flood of memories rushing back. The boy, the promise, the warmth of the one coin. "You've become a doctor?" she asked, her voice weak but filled with pride. He nodded, his voice breaking. "I am. And I owe it all to you, Mama Jalea. You gave me life when I had none. And now I'll give you the same." Tears filled her eyes as she squeezed his hand. She felt the weight of all those years, the loneliness, the hunger, but also the undeniable truth that love, real love, never fades. They sat in silence for a while, as if the world had paused for them to breathe. Ao took care of Mama Jalea for the next few months, bringing her to a new home, a safer place. The village, now far behind them, didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the bond they shared. The circle had closed. Her last coin had led him to greatness. And now, his return had brought her peace. The promise had been fulfilled. As the years went by, Mama Jalea never grew tired of telling the story to visitors, to children, to anyone who would listen. "A small act of kindness can change the world," she would say with a smile. "It always comes back, when you least expect it." And as for Ao, he never forgot the lesson either. He built hospitals in small villages, cared for the sick, and always made sure to remind his patients of one simple truth. Kindness is the greatest medicine.